always been this rumor around that you would leave wrestling for softball. Where did that all come
All
from?
right, that wasn't true either. What happened on that was this. Started back a long time ago when I worked for WCW. All right, I had my lung surgery where I had a hole in my lung. They had to cut part of my lung away, so I lost a lot of weight, almost 70 pounds. So I was gaining my weight back, and I flew in. They looked at me. Actually, they had Terry Funk fly in one time to look at me. And Devin, I didn't even know I could drive that day, but I was scared not to drive because I was afraid I was going to lose my job. So I picked him up at the airport. We made one loop around the airport, and I dropped him off. And I don't know what Terry Funk said, but they didn't fire me or didn't make a big deal about me being that skinny. So I put my weight on, went to see them. They looked at me and said, no, we want you to put a little more weight on. So I go back home, and I'm just, I'm working out every day, eating 15 times a day and working out 2 or 3 times a day. And so during my time off, I played a little softball. And then, I'm only guessing at this point, but I think it was Jerry Lawler. Of course, he played a lot of softball, and he saw me out there all the time. And all of a sudden the office calls me and says, what the fuck are you doing playing softball? I said, well, man, I wasn't told not to play. I was told to put on some weight. All right, so Ole was the booker. He said, okay, for your punishment, they're going to have you come in and you're going to put Lex Luger over in 5 seconds. Now, Devin, you got to realize I was either out for 7, 8 months. When somebody's paying me, big money to sit at home, that 30 seconds, I probably got paid $200,000 for that. So I'm not going to worry about putting Lex over. That's something I never worried about, is putting people over. All right, so that's where it started. And then the next time it came about was when I had, I guess everybody knows the story that I had my fill with the WWF at the time, and I told Vince I wasn't going to be there anymore. And it took me about 3 or 4 months to get out of my contract where I could go back to WCW. And during that time, I played some softball. So those are the 2 times I played softball when I wasn't wrestling. Any other time than that never happened. I played when I came home on my days off, but it never affected the business, But that's the deal. It just got blown out of proportion. And again, it probably started off someone stooging me off like Lawler, who a little jealous, and then I don't know why somebody would worry about me playing softball, but they did. And then, and if you think about it, a lot of people will say, well, Sid, you're an athlete. You hurt yourself. And I understand that. But I wasn't playing the field. I was only DHing. And, you really don't get hurt doing that, slow pitch softball. So, but that's where it went to. That's how it all got, Devin, is, those 2 incidences.
Do you still play at all in your spare time for fun?
I did. I haven't played in the last couple of years. I've just been too busy. And then last time I did play a couple of years ago, I tweaked my hamstring, and I said, you know what? As hard as I work out, I'm not going to do that. And I was, this actually was more than this a couple of years ago. This was a couple of years after I broke my leg, and I was able, just getting back going pretty good, and I tweaked my hamstring. I said, no, I'm not going to play anymore. Now, I thought about playing recently in like a 50 and older class, I know I dominate that.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm not kidding, man. Especially these bats they have today. I mean, these 115-pound kids are hitting home runs, So it'd be a lot of fun. And one of the things I do over at that place I box at, they have those big tires and sledgehammers and different size sledgehammers, and that's what I actually do. I work on seeing, if I could get my bat speed up, and I know I could.
That's pretty impressive. I could just imagine you nailing those balls out of the field with all the
Devin,
power.
and I'm not exaggerating, a lot of people say I am, but when we used to go to autograph signings, in this area, not just this area, but mostly in this area, people would come to me, and that's all they had was, man, I seen you hit a softball one time like 5,000 feet. Now, I know I hit some legitimate shots at 500 feet with a softball, and that's a pretty hard deal to do. But I didn't count my home runs, Devin, unless they went over the light poles. I didn't count them just over the fence. I wanted them to go over the light poles, and that's no exaggeration. I hit so many over those light poles, and I also could hit, left and right-handed, and that always was fun to do too.